Yo, internet! Welcome back. We are gonna do it today. We're gonna fire this thing up. But before we do, let's get the lights on in the building, eh? I got the F-150 trans cooler, so I'm gonna show you how that all hooks up. It should just bolt right in. I got the appropriate hoses from the F-150. Should go right to the radiator and just like factory. And then I got a few other items, a very important one anyway. Now this is not how the box showed up. My animal self tore that up. That's for other things. Is we got the, you notice the sticker, the computer. Boy, I put Jesus, the computer back from Power by the Hour with their part number, and I got my VIN programmed, the VIN of the expedition, so that this thing will be OBD2 or OBD compliant, emissions compliant here in Maricopa County area. So I don't have the purge valve line hooked up quite yet. I'm just gonna plug that port on the manifold for now for the first startup, but do need to do oil and coolant, trans cooler, should be ready to go. So just a hot tip, if you've never taken these computers out, there's like just like on the Mustangs, it's just that it's hidden. There's a clip that holds that in there. Just give it a little more oomph, bolt right in. So we'll get the grounds and all the connectors hooked back up. So just before I put the ground nut on here, I just want to remind you, this is still a Mustang engine harness. And here's the engine harness connector. All bolts up, of course. Transmission already existed, bolts up. Remember to get your grounds. This is the ground from the engine harness, and the ground from the engine itself goes there as well. And then engine harness, this is the inline for the engine harness, and you can see the wires correlate to each other. And of course, transmission inline, which is only 2 wires because it's a 2-wheel drive, goes to transmission. So easy peasy. Oh yeah, gotta put the belts on. So ECU in, belts, trans cooler, let's get after it. All right, kid you not, about 5 minutes. This thing just clips in, you put it on that side first, and then you kind of open this up to snap it in place. Factory F-150 outlet hose. So it goes to this hose first, goes to the radiator first, and then now it looks like there's room for expansion. I know there's bigger ones, but maybe look into that. But that's a really good upgrade. Even if you guys aren't doing a Coyote and you have an Expedition without this cooler, without heavy duty cooling, look into that. It's a cheap upgrade, even from Ford parts. So as you might have seen in our old previous video, I'm gonna actually route these wires of my harness the way I wanted and intended. I still haven't made a electric rack harness, but I just want to get this thing running. So I'm gonna take the intake off, get the belts on, plug that tube, drain the oil, refill it, got a new filter on there. So we're almost ready to rock. All right, it's actually easier to install the belt from the bottom, but we got that on. Nothing crazy here. Got the AC belt on. That's Power by the Hour bracket. All F-150 stuff, stock belt size for the 11 to 12 F-150. Now remember, in other videos, I had a 4-rib balancer on a 14 F-150 engine for the 08 swap. So 11 to 12 will get you that 6-rib pulley, tensioner, and belt to match your 6-rib compressor. The oil coming out of this engine. If you remember how clean this thing was when we had the covers off doing the oil pump gears, it's no surprise. But it's also been sitting for quite a bit, so you should do an oil change anyway, whether it was just put in after the engine was taken out from its donor or whatnot. But yeah, I'd be absolutely shocked if this thing had an issue. All right, last quart of some AMSOIL's going in here. Ended up not having to take that off since I did it from underneath. So it'll get put back on while that last little drop of oil's going in. Save these for another time, and we'll get some coolant in there. All right, internet, we got our harness kind of routed where I like it. It's all mostly going to be covered by that upper radiator cover anyway. That's connected, got oil in it. Coolant is full. I'm going to leave the cap off. And I'm going to disconnect the fuel injectors, let it crank over for a little bit, and then we'll really fire it up. Even before that, I'm just going to turn the key on, see if we got throttle working, all that. It should. I mean, it might even should have with the 5.4 computer, but I forgot to take the video, but it does prime the pump. Of course I took it out. Could even hear the throttle kind of do its thing. What do we got? 0 miles, empty. My foot, got half a tank. All right, let's see what this does. Nothing. Well, I'm not sure why the throttle is working. I'm not getting any, I can hear the clicking in here when I hit the starter. I'm not sure why that's not working. Did I forget to hook up the starter? I did when I did the transmission or pulled the transmission to do the front seal nut on the 2008 Coyote swap. I thought this was the correct way, and then I ended up having to put it back on there. For whatever reason, there wasn't ground transferred, so I'm gonna try that. I was shocked that that was the problem, but we'll give that a try first. All right, it does crank over, so I know the starter's good. Well, maybe. What the heck? I swear it just cranked over. Not sure why. I can hear the relay clicking in here, but I'm not sure why it's not getting translated to this connector. Very odd, very odd. But I'm gonna jump it and see if it runs anyway. Hooking up the injectors, of course. Well, I'm at a little bit of a loss here because it won't crank with the key when everything is identical in the body connector. I can hear the starter relay clicking in here. Throttle's working. Throttle or the key on, jump the starter, still get no fire. It should fire. So I'm gonna have to try some things. So I'm just sitting here stewing why that thing won't fire up. It's really weird that it won't crank for one reason, but the weird reason was that it wouldn't fire when I jumped the starter. Throttle's working, fuel pumps are priming. I'm gonna be really mad at myself and whatever bonehead decided to potentially take the flywheel off that donor engine, take the trigger wheel off, and not put it back on when they put the flywheel back on. But I'll also be mad at myself for not even double checking that, because that's the biggest rookie move. So things I could check, like the crank and cam sensor connectors, which have been messed up before in the past. So you guys get to fast forward a few days or whenever I get to it, because we'll see you then. All right, internet, I couldn't wait. About 9:30 on Sunday, same day. Well, it's cold air in here. And figure out why that thing's not running, because it has been bugging me all day. Brought my multimeter, got the laptop. I'm gonna see if there's crank signal, see if I maybe switch this cam and crank signal or connectors, and see why it's not cranking on the key. It should be doing that at least, so let's get after it. All right, tested the continuity from the output of the starter relay all the way to the starter. We have good continuity, so I know the harness is good, all that's good, so it must be something else. Took the starter relay out, tried it at the key. Something else is clicking on and off that is in either start and run position, so the computer is definitely not energizing that starter relay. So I do have some immobilizer codes. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's there. Well, the computer is seeing when let's see here, I'll just show you. Key is on, we can start the stream here. So I got a few PIDs here rolling up. Key is on. You can see start key PID there. In gear, no, it's in park, so it knows it's in park. And you can see that when I turn the key to start, key on, but the starter motor control monitor is off. And with the immobilizer codes, I fear that maybe Power of the Hour missed the note that I needed PATs deleted on here also, along with the VIN being programmed. So I'm gonna see if I have an RPM signal at least with jumping the starter, and we'll go from there. All right, I did it once. It's gonna be hard for you to see, but I can actually do this two-handed. So we are getting a crank signal. It means my mistake of not checking that the trigger wheel was there or not is averted, and that I connected the cam and crank sensors correctly, which when I did the oil pump gears, I was really certain that I did put them in correctly. It's saying that the vehicle's immobilized whenever there's a key or attempt to start, so it's probably disabling the injectors. Which is a bummer. I'm gonna have to talk to my boys at Power by the Hour. I don't think there's any Patsolated Coyote ECUs around here that I can use. I didn't bring the one for my blue car. Even though it's a manual, I could have jumped the clutch wire in the transmission connector in here to a ground to at least see if this thing will run. But yeah, so you get to go in the future. So I think I figured this out. It's a bummer that is the case, because that code doesn't come up on any other swap I've done. And I'm pretty sure they just put the VIN in, but I will verify with them tomorrow. All right, it's been a few days back from FD. Power by the Hour did say that when they programmed the VIN, it kind of reset the path, so that'll be back here tomorrow. Of course, you guys all get to travel in the future, as I like to say. In the meantime, I did do evap hose. I found a 90-degree fitting and a 1/2-inch evap hose, and then used actually a T connector I had in the other. Whoops. The smaller T is plugged, so that should all work factory. This thing should pass emissions with the VIN and all that good stuff. Not too super stoked about the vacuum booster routing. I could probably just do a hose, might look cleaner. But I did update the fuel line. Let me talk about that. Remember, I had this concoction built from all the parts that I had, you know, with our simple S187 fuel system, but it ended up being too long, and I ended up finding this by, I can't even pronounce the name, but it's a female 6AN, and there's a male 3/8 quick disconnect, and then this is just like your standard male 6AN to 3/8 quick disconnect female. And so a lot shorter. I went through a few other options. One I didn't like, but I feel like this is way better as far as like hose tension being like where this is and whatnot. And the only thing I don't like about it is that you're relying on this one. There's nothing keeping this from backing out unless you like throw Loctite in the threads, of course. So you're relying on that mating surface to be nice and safe, which is fine because a lot of cars are running out there with AN lines. It's just I mean, that fitting has been around since, you know, 60 plus years. I run on my own car. As long as you have a good brand that doesn't leak. I've had bad luck in the past with generic brands. Good brands I've had luck with were like Fergola and Earl's, Russell, that sort of thing. So got the fuel line sorted out, and everything's all buttoned up except for that computer, which should be here, like I said, tomorrow. So everything's buttoned up except for the electric rack wiring. I might do that tonight when I come back with the PCM, because it's actually showing up today. I'll just be able to install it tomorrow. That's what I should say. So let's travel in the future and get this thing running. All right, it's the next day. Got the computer back again. Let's get this thing in here. So quiet. Heard a little valve rattling, but that's to be expected when it's been sitting for a while and we did oil pump gears. A lot of old fuel in there too. Hell yeah. Well, turn the AC on. It's working, getting cold air, but it really lugged the engine down and now it's misfiring. I'm wondering if those injectors are, man, that fan's loud. If the injectors are clogged up, kind of old. Because even before the AC was going, it did seem to have a bit of a misfire. You might not be able to hear it or feel it, but pulled all the injector connectors except this one, and it made no change here. So that number one, or that one is probably dead. That one is also. No change on that one. So we're probably running on like 5 cylinders. Maybe we'll be able to hear the difference with this one pulled. Oh yeah. So we're not running on all 8, but I can only assume it's from the those 3 injectors being, that fuel was so bad in the engine. I should have swapped them anyway, but luckily it's not that big of a job. All right, let's get this thing out of the way. I can just feel it shaking in here. Let's just see if we get this thing to move. Yeah, look at that. Oh man, is it misfiring so bad. Yeah, but we're moving. Sweet. Let's just get it. We'll give myself some more room. Awesome. So there you have it. First run, first start. Great. I still don't have the power steering electric rack stuff hooked up, but I did make a harness for it last night. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, so here's this is from the electric rack harness itself and what I'm using to interface it with. Yeah, pretty simple. Gonna have its battery on. You hook this up to an existing fuse. I'll show you which one. I believe it's one of these Johnnies here. I can't remember. I gotta look at my notes. But you plug it in there, and that'll give the power in the run position for the rack. And then these 2 wires need to be spliced into the CAN bus. Now, since I, may or may not know a thing or two about wiring, I'm gonna tap into the 2 CAN bus wires in there. I'm not sure if they go directly over this way or that way but I know that they're in pins 58 and 9 in there, and wiring them accordingly, kind of tee into them. It is a little invasive. With the kits, I might just have enough wire so you guys can wire it into your OBD2 port so it doesn't disrupt any network things if you're connected. Like, you'll say your splices fail and then fail here, and then everything loses communication. But if you do it at the OBD2 port, it's more of a kind of a read-only type situation. But I'll probably touch on that in the next video, and in the meantime I'm gonna get this misfire figured out. I feel like that's not a bad problem to have. It could be worse. Transmission could be not moving, but looks like I don't think it got quite up to temp, but coolant looks at a good level and all that good stuff. So let's just start this thing one more time, just so I can carry on my day, because I got a transmission put in a Ben Caliber Stage 2 and an S550. And yeah, let's just start this thing up once. All right, internet, give a thumbs up if you like this video. I'm sure it's not the first later model Expedition Coyote swap, but definitely a good template for you to follow. And if you want to see more, please consider subscribing. We'll see you next time.